Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another awesome edition of the Otter's Den, where I have my very special guest, Katy Elizabeth, who looks for Champ in Lake Champlain.
Yes, Champlain, not champagne.
I almost slipped. It might have been, thinking about the alcohol. I don't know. So, hey, Howie, what's up? Yes, let's do this. That's one thing I do is I throw comments up. I put the guests in the show. Hopefully people have some good questions for you this evening. If you don't know who Champ is, I know everybody's heard of the Loch Ness Monster. This is the United States version. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of similarities between the sightings of the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland and America's Loch Ness Monster, known as Champ. But there is more than one, and we'll probably get into that later.
Cool. That's something I was curious about is, the similarities from the reports. Do you think it could be possibly the same species?
I do. Particularly what I find really interesting and my favorite reports of the Champ animals as well as Nessie are the land sightings, which you don't really hear about. A lot of people don't hear about these sightings, but I've noticed a pattern with interviewing many eyewitnesses, locals in particular, because when I started doing research many years ago, started as armchair and then it turned into field research. When I started doing the research, I really didn't hear much about the on land type of sightings until right before I started going. I actually went up to the lake myself.
Yeah.
it's really interesting because some people have said, well, there's something going on where they're just saying that there's been land sightings of Champ. They're copying Nessie, which is baloney, because these sightings have come from people that have lived on the lake all their lives, that own hundreds of acres of swampland around Lake Champlain. Now, there's over 300,000 acres. That's a lot
That's
of
a big
swamp
lake.
around Lake Champlain, which is 120 miles long and 400 feet at its deepest, they say. I beg to differ with that. I think that there's caves, tunnels, and that sort of thing, just because of stories from people I know that have done scuba diving there and ended up in a cave and then dropping into another cave. And looking at the bathymetric, which is the bottom of Lake Champlain, on my sonar unit, you can see in some of these areas, it looks like the Grand Canyon. It's just amazing, the diversity of all these different ledges and stuff. It's just crazy where these animals could definitely hide in seclusion with no issue at all.
That is amazing. I've often wondered if there were like tunnels and stuff under these lakes that they could go in and hide, caves. And one interesting thought that I've had, and call me crazy, a lot of people do, but there's been talk about like energetic portals where this animal is going back and forth from prehistoric times to the current time. And that's why you can't always find it. And also, I wondered if that might be a possible, if that's a thing, if Nessie and Champ might be the same animal floating from one lake to the next. Just some,
Yeah.
My mind wanders.
It's funny because when I did my first television program was with Giorgio Tsoukalos, who I actually saw a couple of weeks ago. I think you saw the photos. So it was really it's always aliens when you can't explain it. It's aliens with Giorgio. But it was really interesting because when I did a spin-off show of his called In Search of Aliens, that was in 2014. During that time, they kind of made it sound like I had said, they do this in production sometimes. They'll twist stuff around. And now that I've done television so much, I know that I specifically have to tell the producers, this isn't my thing. I'm definitely not going to hoax anything for television. That's out of the question. If that's what your plan is, you can find somebody else, because I take my work very seriously. So when I worked for Giorgio's production company, Prometheus, they had this theory on the show that there was some kind of vast tunnel that went all the way from Loch Ness to Lake Champlain. So it's kind of weird, but do I believe that these animals are of alien nature, of paranormal nature? I don't. I think that they're biological. But but the thing that I do believe is that there's definitely some sort of protection bubble around them. The Native Americans, the Abenaki and the Iroquois, used to pay homage to the horned serpents. And when they talked about the horned serpents, they said that these animals were created to protect Lake Champlain. It seems over the years that I've been doing the research, and I've had an extreme amount of good luck with it. But I think that's because I've spent so many damn hours doing it, and a lot of money doing it. And I'll get to that later too.
It's not cheap.
It's almost like, because I don't mean them any harm, and I'm about the protection aspect. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's one of the reasons. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff out there, as you know, with the paranormal. I used to be a paranormal investigator, and I haven't done it in a very long time. And I think I spoke to you a little bit about it. Why? But I'm still interested in it. I'm very careful. Just at arm's length, if you know what I mean.
I do. I'm the same way these days because of what goes on behind the scenes and what's said behind the scenes and what's done behind the scenes. It's getting to the point where it's almost difficult to trust people in that field anymore.
Oh, it's the same way in the cryptozoology field. I mean, you have people hoaxing stuff. I mean, I saw this one picture, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and it was someone on my friends list. And I actually dumped him off my list because I'm like, I don't even want to be involved with a hoaxer. But he had put some pictures up of supposed to be 2 Bigfoots. And you brighten the photo and you can see like two black sheets in front of them and they're on like the edge of a picket fence. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, oh, look, they were talking to me. And I'm like, okay, dude, like get the hell off my list. I just
I'm done.
deal
I'm
with
out.
that mentality because I work so hard at what I do. And these are the people that are ruining the field, the credibility. That's
Yeah.
really important to us. And I don't think that that's fair. And they need to go. They need to find another hobby to
Yeah.
do or something. They really need to take a hike. So,
Not wrong. They want fame so bad that they're willing to fake evidence.
yeah.
Others out there in the field simply aren't educated. They're using flash photography in the fall, walking through a field outside. I caught thousands of spirits. Look at all those orbs.
Look at all the orbs. Yeah.
It's dust. It's dust. I sorry. I have seen a few authentic, questionable things that may have been orbs. No other light source. They are emitting their own light, colored, distinct flight pattern, not bugs, because there's no other light. You got to do your research on your evidence. When in doubt, throw it out. That's what I say. That's what my
That's
team
it.
does. And I'm sure you're the same way. If you can't prove something, it may be this or it may not be, or I can't use this.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just an authentic investigator, whether it be paranormal, cryptid, what have you.
And I mean, I'm very, when it comes to the evidence and stuff, I'm very, very fussy. If I get something that I really, I have to go over it a bazillion times for me to present it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just like have it say something on the sonar and it could be a school of fish. And I go through comparisons and whatnot. And I have to really know before I put it publicly. I mean, I've got some videos back in 2014, 2015, 2016 that the one in 2014 that I got, that was the best thing I've seen that I got on video of a champ animal, or two. I think it might have been two, because they did an analysis for the Science Channel and they did determine that it was over 25 feet long, probably about 35 feet.
That's big.
Which actually the largest specimen that we know of in Lake Champlain of a champ animal is around 35 feet, which is very, very big. You don't want one popping up next to your boat like that.
No.
Pretty scary.
The
the stories that go back for years and years talking about 100-foot long serpent and stuff. I don't believe that's the size. I mean,
I don't either.
It doesn't go with the sonar readings and the echolocation recordings that I captured, but it could be more than one right next, one in front of the other. And that's what I try to explain to people as well.
Yeah.
Or it could be a wake. I mean, there's large boat wakes and a seiche, which is a very common natural phenomenon in these glacial lakes, rolling waves. There's all kinds of things that can play tricks with your eyes. And what I do is I take video of those things. I do comparisons. I'm like, okay, here's a 2014 video. Here's a boat wake. Here's a log that's floating in the lake. So you have to do your homework and you have to know the natural phenomenon that's happening at these locations to do comparisons, because otherwise it's just speculation. And I think that's really important.
Same way on paranormal investigations, when you're trying to help a client, you take the complaints. Okay, this is happening. Okay, your door slamming shut. Let's look at how that door is hung. Is it balanced? When you open another door and shut it real fast in the house, does that affect this door? Is the AC vent right by the door? You go through and you debunk and everything that is physical, and then what you have left, that's what you look at.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's what I try to do as well. And it's, you do get people that try to hoax stuff. Okay. So recently there's this character, I don't know if I told you about the Rock story.
I don't think
so. We'll get into it more out the air, but just put it simply, there are people out there that make up stuff sometimes. And it's been a really long time since I actually, there was that and another thing that someone had sent me of like showing a screen door and the lake in the background. And then it looks like this neck popping up. And I'm like, why the hell wouldn't you just go outside and take a video of this thing or whatever? Because it was bull crap. It was crap. Like they photoshopped it. And I'm like, you really think that I'm that friggin' stupid that I'm gonna believe you? And I'm like, no thanks. So that guy, I just kind of whatever. But this other person that's got this video out, it's on YouTube, and it says, "Oh, America's Loch Ness." Now, first of all, it's Loch means lake, so they're calling the creature Loch Ness, which is they don't know what they're talking about right there.
Right.
But they're showing this drone footage, and they took this drone footage 2 years ago. Okay, all of a sudden they just realize that Champ is in the video. And I know sometimes you don't see things till a long time later. That happened to me in 2019 when I got the second sonar images.
Yeah.
It took me a couple weeks to go through because I had so many. I had so many images from that day. But in this case, they've been working on this movie. It's a so-called movie, and they've been working on it. And they're like, oh, all of a sudden, it was a marketing scheme. So, needless to say, what's really comical about the whole thing at the beginning of the clip, you see a strip of land out in the water, and it's very, very quick. And I said, paused it. I said, I know what that is. And it was right off in the distance from the Champlain Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And in the movie, they have this guy who's marketing this whole thing, him and this little girl in a dinghy, a really, really tiny dinghy. And he apparently paddled out to this area, which is not far from this rock that I found later. I actually went up onto the bridge, and I've never walked the bridge. I've been across the Champlain Bridge a million times.
Yeah.
But never walked it. Everybody says what a beautiful view and just taking time up there. It's a great vantage point if something does pop up. So it's a great place to kind of park your lawn chair on the sidewalk if people don't get peed off about it. You know, you can sit and watch. So I went out there and took a walk on the bridge, and I'm trying to look at the angles of where this piece of land is sticking out. And I look down, and there's Champ. It's still there. It's been there for 2 years. It's a freaking rock. I'm like, damn, I've never seen Champ so stationary, very stone-faced. So anyway, yeah, it's just really comical. So you run into this stuff. It's annoying because this is the shit we don't need in the field.
Yeah, I've had
it's like this, and people were taking it seriously. There was like they've done podcasts, and they don't like me. It's another story. It's stupid. It was like to them, it was a competition thing, and it was comical because when they came out with this, I was like, "You got to be kidding me! Like, don't you have anything else better to do?" Because I guess they weren't selling enough movie tickets and whatnot. So
everybody
go through every link to try to get what they want, I guess. But
yeah,
it's a joke, and that's what I hate about when this stuff happens because it actually does make the serious research like I do look even better because
more credible.
It's total crap. So, but yeah, I'm sure you've seen stuff like that.
I have. People have sent me EVPs and pictures and videos, and there's nothing there.
Yeah,
it's pictures of, oh, I caught the spirit in the window. Okay, A, the window is dirty. B, the light is shining on it. I can probably go there right now, look up and see the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, those older windows, they're not like the newer windows we have now. They weren't all the same thickness. You get a little dirt on them, and they're pareidolia, I believe is what
it's a tough word to say. I know.
Yeah. When you look at something and you think you see this, and then your brain fills in the rest. It's happened to me. I've had to double take stuff. You know, pictures I go through. It's like I need to go back and look at that. So I'll drive back to the location and check it out. It's like, sure enough, yeah, it's dust. Debunked.
Exactly.
Howie had a question for you.
Okay, I just did see that about Chesapeake Bay. No, I haven't, Howie. I've not researched for Chessie. I believe it's called Chessie. I have not done that yet. I've kind of got my hands full of Lake Champlain at the moment because I've had so much luck. I have investigated other lakes. Lake Memphremagog. Say that about 10 times.
Oh no.
Uh,
Oh no, not this one.
that's a lake that's about 2.5 hours from Lake Champlain. And I believe the creatures that are seen in that lake are the same as the champ animals, probably the same species, because they're in such close proximity to each other.
It would make sense.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt anything.
Oh no, I just said it would make sense.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry.
So, but yeah, there's Lake Memphremagog. There's also Lake Willoughby, which is in the same area. That one's only 5 miles long, but it's up to 375 feet deep. It's kind of like a crater type of lake. It's strange.
Okay.
Then there's Echo Lake and Lake Seymour as well. They're all clustered. And you see this also in Ireland and Scotland. A lot of these lakes are very close together, where there's these sightings, and they're like, are there tunnels going from one lake to another? Are they going through these marsh systems to get at nighttime, particularly because that's when the sightings are happening in these marshes? It's really interesting because in Lake Willoughby, back in I think it was 1900, early 1900s, there was a team of horses that were taking ice blocks across the ice, and they broke through the ice and they drowned. And 2 weeks later, they found them in Crystal Lake down the road. This is a story. I don't know if it's true, but it's a pretty well-known story up there in that region.
That'd be amazing if there was any proof.
Yeah, exactly. What is interesting about Lake Willoughby, which is right near Lake Memphremagog, there is a bathymetric of the bottom, and there's one area on the northern part of Lake Willoughby, I almost said Memphremagog, Lake Willoughby, that is very, very, very deep. And I looked at it on the bathymetric map, and it's the darkest color on the map, which indicates the deepest depth. And that's on the same end as where Crystal Lake would be. So I'm wondering if there's some sort of tunnel that goes through. Maybe there's some kind of current that's bringing them into the other, stuff into the other lake. A friend of mine made a really cool suggestion. He's like, if you could get like, I think he said something down there to test the temperature or the current or something to see if there's something like, I have an ROV that goes down to 350 feet. So I could try that eventually. I'm still learning the ROV, and it's a pain. All the equipment is such a pain in the butt. Like, it really is. It's always a learning curve. So if I upgrade to something newer or something different, you got to start all over again. And that's why I had said on another podcast with doing the Bigfoot research, which I've done, and I do some research for the skunk ape down here in Florida. It's so much different than the lake creature stuff because you have a boat that you have to deal with, which is a pain in the ass in itself.
Yeah.
You have the sonar equipment, which doesn't always want to work. It actually hooks up to my phone. It has Wi-Fi built in because it has live video as well. There's so many technicalities that can go wrong. And I had done another podcast, and there was someone that got really ticked off with me because I had said that there's a huge difference between the Bigfoot research and the lake creature research. I've done both. He hasn't. And he doesn't even leave the couch anyway. So that's another story. But he was like, oh, well, I take offense to what she said on the show. And I'm like, it's the truth. Why are you getting your panties in a bunch if it's the truth? Like, I've been on both sides. I do both. He's never done both, So I don't know. You can't even say anything nowadays without somebody getting butt hurt. You know how it goes.
It's ego. It's ego. People can't support anybody else's research or efforts. They have to be on top themselves. I did this. You didn't do that. True, but I've done this.
Well, what I want to say to him is, why don't you get your ass down here to Florida? We'll go out in the swamps where there's alligators and copperheads and rattlesnakes and pythons.
Yep.
And pythons that will swallow a man, they're that big.
Those things are huge.
See what the hell he can offer, So you get people like that who sit on the couch and they put people down that do all the work. And you actually feel bad for them because they obviously have an issue. They have an issue. So
Yeah,
all we
very
can
big.
do is pray for them. I mean, that's all we can do, and
For
just
sure.
ignore it. I mean, that's what I do. I just ignore it. It's like whatever.
I ask spirit to help them learn. That's
Exactly.
what I do. Keyboard warriors. They sit at home, mama's basement, behind the keyboard, behind their screen.
Yeah.
And that way they can be as mean as they want to other people, put them down as much as they want without having to experience the consequences.
And then you see them at, say, a conference, and you say, "Oh, hey, how you doing?"
And
And
like,
then, "Oh yeah, what do you have to say now?"
yeah,
Oh,
they're
oh,
out.
oh, blah, 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 they're gone.
They're out.
They will not face you in person. And I've had this
No,
happen so many times. I mean, there was one conference that I did, and the person found out that I was going, and they were supposed to be a speaker as well, and they backed out. So I'm like, oh well. I mean, you get the craziest characters.
they
Um,
can't have a normal conversation, and they cannot agree to disagree. They
yeah,
cannot look at your evidence and facts because it's not theirs. They didn't come up with it. Therefore, it's wrong.
yeah,
Cognitive dissonance is a thing. No matter how much proof you put in front of them, they can't change their mind about something. That's hitting a lot right now. Just saying.
yeah, yeah.
Not only in these fields, but tomorrow as well. Um, it'd be nice if people could sit down and say, okay, this is the research I've done. Let's look at your research. Let's compare notes, and let's see if we have any similarities. Let's see if we have any differences, and maybe why we have those differences and those similarities. Let's help each other through this process of learning and finding this creature,
Yeah.
so we can learn about what the hell is on this planet. The oceans. We have not discovered everything in all the oceans. They're coming up with new species all the time. And in the rainforests, new species all the time. So why can't Champ or Nessie be a real animal that just hasn't been discovered yet?
Absolutely. I mean, it's people when they think of Lake Champlain and they've never been to Lake Champlain, they're like, "Oh, how could there be these population of these creatures in this lake?"
It's
They
huge.
don't realize how freaking huge it is. I mean, you get up in a plane and you look down and it just blows you away. It blew me away. Even though I know how big the lake is, every time I fly over the lake, I get goosebumps and I cry. I actually cry. I'm such a baby. Like I look down there and I tear up because I see the amount of size this lake is
Yeah.
and what I've gotten. And I'm like, how the hell did I do this? I feel really proud of myself because I worked so hard at this. And to get results in such a massive body of water is just crazy. And I
Well,
think it's just a proof of determination. And when you keep going and you don't listen to what anybody says, and a matter of fact, like they say, if you got haters, they're your motivators. So I always think of that all the time.
keep hating. Keep hating. Keep driving me.
And like someone mentioned, like Renee mentioned in the chat here, it would be amazing if we all could come together and work together as a
Yeah.
team on things. You know what? There probably would be some kind of a lot more proof. I mean, I believe that there's Bigfoot out there, even though I've never seen one myself. But we would be so much further if we did come together
Mhm.
instead of fighting all the time. And I've had like people say that, oh, you can't work with her. That's not true. I have no problem. I work with tons of people. I get along with tons of people. It's the ones that try to sponge off of me and like coming on my boat and filming a documentary. I had this happen where at the time they didn't have any money, and that's fine. I didn't care about that. I wanted to do the research.
Mhm.
Later on, they made over $100,000. That's another thing. And then one of the people was talking smack, and I talked to the main person, and I said, "Why are they doing this to me? Like I took people out. I spent my own money. I really worked hard at this for you
Mhm.
guys, and I'm getting trashed like that. I don't think that's right." And then I get blocked and told off. So, it's it's a one-way street sometimes. It's very
Yeah.
sad, and I think it's all about them making a name for themselves, and they don't care who they can step on to get on the way, get their way. And I just don't think that's fair. And so I'm going to be working on some documentaries. My next one is going to be about UFOs because I did take a trip out to Vegas. Oh, when the hell was it? I think it was like 8 months ago. It's been a while. And we did some filming out there. I had some kind of strange things happen. So it's going to be really interesting to show that. I've interviewed some ufologists and stuff, and that'll be available on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure when, pretty soon. Then I have my documentary that I'm working on from my own research called Lady of the Lake, The Search for Champ.
Yes.
And so it's been a few years that I had planned on releasing this, but I kept saying, I have a feeling I need to wait. I need to wait another season because I might get something. And guess what? September 20th of this year, I got something.
Yes, you did. Would you like to tell us about that something?
Sure. So I was out on the research vessel Kelpie 2 out on the lake. And this season was like really, really hectic. The weather sucked. It was raining, it was windy, and you can't go out on that lake if it's nasty because we'll drown. I mean, some of the waves are 5 feet tall. You would just like the Great Lakes. I mean, the Great Lakes are insanely huge and bigger than Lake Champlain.
Beyond the ocean.
Yeah. Oh, totally. So I'm always very careful with the weather. And even the guys at the marina, they're so funny. They're like, "You going out today?" And I'm like, "I don't think I'm going to be going out today." Why? It's calm. I look at him. I'm like, "It's not going to be in about an hour." And sure enough, like the waves start coming. They're like, "How the hell did you? You're really good at this." I said, "Well, I had to be because I got stuck in a storm one time and I almost sunk my boat. So I learned my lesson with that." So
that's not good.
But I got out there and I took one of my friends with me. Her name's Marty. And she had never really gone out and done champ research before. So because we've only known each other for a short amount of time. So she was super excited and she's probably thinking like this lady's totally nuts, but she's really, really easygoing and cool. So we gone out to a location that wasn't too far from where I've gotten some evidence before. I try to stick with the same places because it seems like they're very favorable for feeding. This particular area is like an abundance of fish, an abundance of crevices and different, probably caves. There's all kinds of places where these animals could hide, and they've been seen in this area since as far as I know, the 1900s. There's been, I think there was a ship called the Curlew that had seen a champ animal that was supposed to be like 100 feet long, but I think it was two of them. Also nearby was a sighting at a place called Camp Dudley on the New York side, and kids were out swimming, and the camp counselor yelled, "Get out of the water. There's something out there." And there was two of them out in the water. So the kids were freaking out and they're all running to the beach. So there's been a lot of sightings in that area. And not far away is Button Bay, where I got my 2014 video, and Arnold's Bay, which is where Benedict Arnold burnt one of his ships. So that's got a strange paranormal history as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird paranormal UFO sightings, Bigfoot. So I was in this area and it was really hot that day. It was kind of an Indian summer. I said, well, I'm going to take my headphones off because they're the full kind that go around your ears and you get really sweaty. He says, "Oh man, I can't stand this anymore." So I took them off and I put them on the seat. When I did that, I was talking to my friend Marty and I had the volume turned up on the hydrophone, which is an underwater microphone system.
Yeah.
I heard click, 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 click. And I was like, what the hell is that? And I'm always trying to be logical. I'm always trying to see, like, is there something on the boat? The boat wasn't on. There wasn't any boats near us. There was nothing. It was dead calm. And I have a video of the spot where we were and how calm it was. It was like glass. So that was when we had gotten this echolocation, which is something that whales and dolphins normally give off. Now, if we're dealing with a cetacean, which is whale or dolphin species, we'd be seeing them all the time. They'd be coming up to breathe air. They'd be more social. I don't believe we're dealing with any type of cetacean, but what's really interesting about these creatures is that I believe with evolutionary adaptation, they've developed this echolocation to find food and for navigation reasons. And I think the reason why they developed that when this was the Champlain Sea 10,000 plus years ago. It was actually full of coral and the water was clear. As you know, like wherever there's a ton of coral, it filters the water and the water is extremely clear, like in the Bahamas and around
Yeah.
Florida. And so with that clarity, maybe I'm not sure because I wasn't around. I'm old enough. I don't need to be that old. Um, at that time, maybe they didn't have echolocation capabilities because they could see through the water so easily. This could be something that was uniquely evolved by these creatures. They could have picked it up from beluga whale. Now, beluga whale were native to the Champlain Sea. There had been 13 beluga whale skeletons found around Lake Champlain. The scariest, creepiest, weirdest part about this is where are they? There's one on display at the Perkins Geology Museum in the University of Vermont. I've
Okay.
seen it. I got a hold of the geology department. No one's gotten back to me about it yet. Like they
Imagine
won't
that.
say anything. It's like, what else have you found? That's
Well,
they probably there was actually a report from a newspaper back in I think it was early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. I have the report. I'll have to post it. But where they had found a serpentine fossil in the side of a rock on the side of Lake Champlain. And
really?
supposedly they blasted this out, like basically carved it out. And then they supposedly sent it to P.T. Barnum for his
Right.
museum that he had, which actually burned to the ground. So nobody really knows where the hell this serpentine fossil went.
That's just like the redhead giants that they found. There was evidence, there was newspaper articles, there was photos of the skeletons, but all of a sudden, all of that evidence is gone. Why don't they want us to know the truth about what is out there and what has been in the past? Because they've told us this is our history. If we admit that, okay, this is a possibility, then they'd have to admit to lying about our history. They'd have to be able to change their mind about our actual history. They are making discoveries now that there were functional, intelligent civilizations over 26,500 years ago. And I'll bet we find older very soon. The science community, these scientists are, it's this, that's it. Well, then new evidence comes up. That's wrong.
Yeah.
And they argue they don't want to do the tests. They don't want to do the dating. They don't want to do the investigating because they would have to admit, okay, what I've been saying for years is wrong.
Yeah.
Same way with the paranormal. Same way with cryptid. It's if we get new evidence, let's put it out there. Let's get it out. Let everybody see it. Let's study it. Let's find out what's going on and find out
Yeah.
what this thing is. You know, echolocation, whales, dolphins, those are mammals. They're not fish, they're mammals. Bats, mammals. So chances are, if this thing has echolocation, it is a what? Mammal, not a fish.
Yeah. I mean, but then, like I said, you be seeing them all the time. That's the funny part about it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, with the evolutionary adaptation, I think that's probably what's going on here. There's cases of these animals being seen on land, sunbathing as well, which you do have seals and walruses that are mammal. My cat is getting into things. What are you doing?
Kitty.
Let me see. If I can grab her real quick and get her down from the shelf. 1 second.
Go ahead.
What are you doing? Come on. Yeah, this is Tootsie. She's the youngest one.
Hi, Tootsie. What you doing?
Getting into trouble.
Did you want to come on the show?
She's
You're
like,
more than
yeah,
welcome.
let me down. So yeah,
Maybe make an appearance here pretty soon. I don't know. He's sleeping right now.
my other cat Splash, I think he's taking a nap downstairs.
That's what Thor's doing.
So yeah, like with the echolocation, it's really interesting. So what I this isn't the first time I've gotten echolocation in the lake. 2014 I got echolocation. 2018 I got it when I was filming with NBC. And then this year, and like I said, we had such a crappy year for research. The boat was acting up, and there was so many problems. And I'm like, I got to go back up to the lake before it gets too cold. And So I finally made it up in September, which I
That's
usually try
pushing.
to get everything done by the beginning of September, but this time I'm like, oh man, like it's kind of late in the season, but we'll give it a shot. The best month really is August. I seem to have the best luck in August for some reason. I think the temperature of the water, June, July, August into September are the times to see these animals, and I think that's because they're ectothermic. So, like any reptile or amphibian is ectothermic. They have to take the outer temperature to I can't even talk, sustain their inner core temperature.
Right.
So sunlight, sunbathing, they need it for bone growth also.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my theory with them. Are they plesiosaurs? I don't think so, because they couldn't hold their necks up high, which it's a really rare occurrence in sightings. But it does happen, and that's just not structurally their morphology does not allow that. But whatever these creatures are, I think they're very similar looking to the plesiosaur because of the sonar images that I got from 2019. So they
Well,
have a long neck, but they have a longer midsection, and then they have the webbed feet, which there have been prints found, webbed footprints found in the marsh systems and
I was
across
going to
roads.
ask. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
So
land sightings.
I
I
found
heard.
I found some prints that I know are not giant beavers. I mean, there's some really strange things that I have found in the marsh. Whether I could say that they're champ for certain, no, but they're interesting.
Did
There's a
you
lot
take
of cut throughs that go through the marsh, which beavers do that, otters do that. Otters, ha! I'm just kidding. So, with that being said, though, we really don't know if these are tracks from them. I mean, they're much wider. You can have beavers and otters that can go like trail side by side to make a larger path.
Mhm.
I don't know. There's some really strange stuff. I had taken my friend Dave Shealy, who does the skunk ape research, up to the lake
Yeah.
to see his opinion because he grew up in the Everglades. And he was really amazed at some of the cut throughs that were in this marsh system. He looked at me and he's like, "Are you sure you don't have alligators here?" And I said, "See, I mean, I didn't grow up in the Everglades. I've never grown up around alligators and crocodiles. We do have native crocodiles here in Florida, in southern Florida.
Yeah.
So I'm not really used to seeing that sort of thing, but I've done a lot of studying of that. Just to see, because with my theory of them possibly being reptile or maybe a very, very large amphibian or a hybrid of both, if it's an evolutionary adapted animal,
That.
you could be dealing with something that's got both traits, which sounds
Yeah.
unbelievable. But whales, they actually started on land, which is
Yes.
really funny. A lot of people don't know that. So
Yes. In their fins, there are toe bones in their fins.
Yeah,
They started.
exactly.
Life came from the sea onto land, and then whales went back into the sea. And I was going to ask you, I made a little note, because there are certain fish who can breathe both air and they have gills to get oxygen from the water. But
Yeah.
sometimes the water it gets so bad that there's no oxygen in it, so they have the ability to breathe air. I just had it, the name of one, and I forgot it.
Bowfin?
I think so. But also a betta, Siamese fighting fish.
Yes. Oh,
They
yeah.
can do the
Yes.
same thing as well.
I used to have tons of those things. I had one in particular that I honestly, because I was a little kid, I thought I had it for like 4 or 5 years. My mom lied to me. So I had Bubbles, and I'm like, man, this is the longest living fish I've ever had in my life. And I was just a little kid, but I was just amazed. And come to find out, she switched him like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, you find a similar one, slip it in.
I'm like, geez, Mom, thanks a lot for ruining
Yeah.
that. She's like, I didn't want you to cry.
But
So what do you do?
But over time, from prehistoric times to now, that species might evolve into being able to do both, because of the depths of the lake, where food is, where it needs to hide, where the caves are.
Yes.
We don't know. There are blind cave fish. They don't need their eyes anymore, so they don't have them anymore. They just got rid of them. It's evolution.
It's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it
nature,
is.
and we say nature has a way.
Nature will survive.
Absolutely. And you know, in Lake Champlain, there's three types of fish that go back 100 million years. You have the bowfin, also known as the mudfish. I do a lot of fishing as well. I've been an angler my whole life, so
Nice.
I love it. Fishing is like one of my favorite things. So when
And
I'm
our,
not looking for champ, which is most of the time, if I can stick some fishing in at the same time, I do that. But I make sure my drag is on my line because I'm so focused at looking at the lake that I don't have time to be watching my line. I just put the drag on loose and
yep.
I scream a reel, then I just pull it in. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's hard to concentrate on both fishing and watching for champ. But the bowfin, which go back 100 million years, the gar, and the sturgeon, which a lot of people see and they think is champ. I'm sure there's many sightings that are claimed to be champ that are sturgeon. But one thing to know in Lake Champlain, they're endangered. There's not that many of them. So, and not just that, sturgeon cannot vertically undulate. That's what I always giggle about when someone gives a report, a skeptic comes in and says, "Oh, it was a sturgeon." Sturgeon don't vertically undulate. Sturgeon
No.
are not blackish brown. They're gray. They
Great.
have the scoots on their back. Champ animals do have like bumpy things on their back as well,
Mhm.
type scoots. But the coloring's totally off. The morphology in general is totally off, and the movement's totally off.
Right.
Um, if anything, if they're seeing anything that looks like it's vertically undulating, it definitely could be a rolling type of wave. I've had videos sent to me that were. So, I mean, there's all kinds of natural phenomena on the lake that can definitely play tricks with your eyes. So that's why you have to do comparisons.
Yeah.
And that's why I practice with my camera. And it sounds funny, but you try seeing something out in a bay and you turn your camera on and get right to it. That's not easy to do. So what
No.
I do, I basically what I do is I'll practice with boats and with ducks and whatnot. So I'll see, like, say even a seagull, just a small seagull. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to see how fast I can turn my reaction time because these animals are really fast, and if you don't have good reaction time, you're gonna freaking miss it.
Yeah.
So what I do is I practice turning on the camera real quick. I can't keep the camera on. It's a Nikon. For some reason, it drains the freaking battery keeping it on. So it's just impossible to keep it on
Yeah.
all the time. So then I turn on really quick and I try to zoom into said target, say a seagull, and try to get it in focus. And especially a moving target like a boat. And if one of these animals comes up and they're going fast, you try keeping up with it and keeping the camera steady. I mean, I always tell people have a tripod because my 2014 video, I didn't have a tripod. So I had to stabilize it later on. Actually, I can't take credit for the bumpiness, the unsteadiness in the video because my research partner at the time was taking the video. So,
I got you.
but I practice my reaction time. I practice with using the background for scale. So say something comes up and there's a sailboat in the background, you can use that for scale size, which is extremely important, as you know.
Yes.
Like with
Yes.
Bigfoot prints, you know, be like, oh, it's a Bigfoot print, and they don't show anything for scale, and it could be just someone's footprint.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that before.
so there's different ways, different methods to my madness, but I'm going to be doing an online class on lake monster field research eventually, which would be really interesting because a lot of people offer the cryptozoology classes, but I rarely see anything about field research. And I think it's really important that people get out there in the field because we're not going to discover anything if we're sitting on our butts. I mean, it doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense
That.
at
That.
all.
I am not going to prove the existence of paranormal activity in our plane of existence unless I get up off my tail, get some equipment, and I actually do the research.
Yes.
You got to get out there and do it. Howie had a question. Have you ever found any feces?
You know, it's kind of funny because that's a good question. One, oh my God, I'm trying to remember what time of year it was. I think it was spring. It was spring and the lake was just starting to thaw.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen some like really straight. Now here's the bad part. Okay, millions of gallons of untreated sewage get into Lake Champlain every year, which is total shite. Okay,
Yeah.
and no pun intended. Legislature does absolutely nothing about it. They don't want to spend the money to fix the infrastructures at these wastewater treatment plants.
Our rivers.
Yeah, it's you know how it goes, but they're more interested in, you know, like redoing some stupid building that fell down into some stupid park. I mean, their priorities are all screwed up there. I hate to say
Not
it.
wrong.
State of Vermont, especially. I
It's,
used to live there, but you know, it's like all the money that you pay. It's like one of the most expensive places to live. All the money you pay for taxes. It just, I mean, there was an instance where I would go fishing. I would get contractor bags and pick up all of the trash. I did that every spring around the lake. So I finally
yes.
got a hold of the town of Ferrisburg where I lived. And I'm like, is there any way you could like put a trash barrel? Because everybody's dumping their shit all over the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, we really don't want to do that. They don't want to spend the money. And it's like, well, what the hell am I paying taxes for?
Yeah. It would take effort to do that. Whenever I
Yeah.
go fishing,
And
I
I'm
take
like, they may not use the trash bins. At least it's an option though. At least you have something there.
right, right. I do the same thing. I've got trash bags in my truck right now. I go out to the lake to talk to Spirit, and I have a deal with some of the entities that I speak with out there. Hey, if you let me have some peace here on your land, I will help to keep it clean.
Oh, that's
There are
nice.
some very interesting entities there that aren't always nice. So I made friends with these things, and we got a deal. I can go fishing. I pick up trash. I can go have my peace. I pick up trash. It tit for tat. You do something.
There
You know,
you go.
you keep the places clean. They spent I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars draining, redigging out, completely redoing a lake about 10 minutes from here, Big Indian. And the first year, people throwing picnic tables in the lake, people throwing tires in the lake, people,
Yeah.
just trash everywhere. It's sickening. And you see it everywhere, not just at the lakes, the rivers, at the parks. You go to the park to eat, you sit down at the picnic table, you look over, there's a trash can, and there's trash all around the trash can within 3 foot of it.
It's ridiculous. It's just laziness and ignorance. It
It
really
is. It ticks me off. The garbage patch in the ocean. The thing is huge. I can't remember the name of the company that is doing this, but they are actually extracting huge amounts of it in order to be recycled. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
But all the plastic that's coming down the rivers, especially in the foreign countries, it flows right out and it gets into this giant garbage patch that's almost like an island. Sea organisms are actually using it as a home while absorbing microplastics into their bodies. Humans are doing the same thing. There's microplastics in toothpaste, in food, in this, in
Body
that.
wash, I think too. They have like those little beads in the body wash.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And there's no way to get those microplastics out. There's no way to filter them.
Yeah.
So, you got to think, what's that doing to the wildlife? How is it going to evolve in order to handle that? Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Renee. The Ocean Cleanup. That's what the company is.
Okay. Awesome.
So, I mean, I think it's awesome that they are doing it. There's some other people out there that are doing it, but they actually developed a it works. They go out, they put their nets out, they catch it, they bring it in, they dump it on their ship, they go through it, they sort it, it goes to the recyclers, and it gets made into something useful. Let's get back on track because I squirreled.
It's okay. I
Have
do it
you-
all the time, so don't worry about it.
I'm squirrely. Have you looked into ley lines? Are there any ley lines going through Lake Champlain?
You know, I haven't really looked into that much. That's an interesting thought because we were talking a while back on Messenger about the paranormal aspects possibly around the lake. I do know that there is quite a bit of quartz and there's limestone and there's also dolostone, but I know limestone and quartz or big conductor type of rock. So I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on there. I mean, there was an abduction, UFO abduction in the 70s of a couple of teens that were at a camp, and they saw something come out of the lake. This is in broad daylight. They saw something come out of the lake, and they had like a case of lost time. And it's crazy because you have that. Then there's been quite a few Bigfoot sightings in the Adirondack Mountains, which are right next to Lake Champlain, not far from where I got the sonar images and the echolocation now. That area seems to be quite a hot spot. So with the echolocation, there were no boats nearby. I've done comparisons. If you do want to post that video so everybody can watch it and listen to it, because there are comparisons to known fish in the lake.
Yeah.
There's some comparisons to cetaceans, whale, and dolphin, because I've done a lot of studies of whales and dolphins in the North Atlantic as well as down here off the coast of Florida. And so there's a lot of comparisons. I sent the recording off to a nice woman named Cindy Jolie that lives in Perth, Australia. And she was totally amazed by the complex nature of the sounds. I knew that this was amazing, and I said I got to send this to her and see what she thinks, because I want some scientific opinion. I am going to be going to school for marine biology. I've done so much field work in marine biology, though. I'm not going to have an issue with that whatsoever, because I've done field work when a lot of the times when students come in to go to school, they've never done a lick of field work, and I've done that with the bioacoustics work as well. So it's going to be quite a journey with it, but it's going to be fun. I know I'm going to enjoy it, and it's going to definitely support the validity, credibility, scientific wise with my research. But in the meantime, I did have it analyzed, and she was amazed by the complex nature of the sounds. So I'm just really excited that this year was not a wash, and I'm excited that everything happens for a reason. It's really amazing why the weather was not cooperative, why the boat wasn't cooperative, and if I didn't go in September, I probably wouldn't have gotten what I gotten. So I'm glad that all these stupid things happened. There was a lot more. Like one of my friends that was supposed to come out with me on the boat, and he blew me off, kind of thing. Didn't answer the telephone. He's kind of known as the town hobbit anyway. He gets temperamental where he won't talk to people for weeks, and then everybody gets worried and calls the police, which I'm friends with the local police department. I'm friends with the guys there, and we sit and have coffee. I mean, this stuff that I don't like show behind the scenes, like sitting at the police station having coffee with the cops and like talking about Champ and UFOs and Bigfoot. That happens, and it's amazing that the whole town embraces what's there, and I think that's really exciting. It's not they don't think it's bullshit. I mean, there's some people that do. Oh, I've never seen anything. It's like, well, good for you. And then there's people that have said they never seen anything, and then 2 years later, I had a woman say she was so critical, but 2 years later, she came up to me and she's like, I just wanted to apologize to you. And I'm like, for what? I said, oh, I remember you. And she goes, well, I just wanted to let you know that I saw something last month out on the lake. I saw a head neck come up, and she was in her boat fishing. I will never, ever doubt what's out there again. And I'm so sorry that I treated you like shit, so
we all learn. We all learn.
It's crazy, but seeing is believing, and I have nothing against skepticism. Right. That's part of science. That's fine. Yeah. It's when they act like assholes to you. That's what I don't like. It's about respect. If you're scientific and you take pride in your work, you need to have some freaking respect for people. Yeah. And I think that's really important as well.
I agree. It's the same way in the paranormal community. If you have never had a paranormal experience, you're more inclined not to believe in the paranormal. I have had said paranormal experiences throughout my entire life. I know this stuff exists.
Same here.
Know. I need no convincing. It is not my job to convince a non-believer. Your time will come. When you do, come talk to me. We'll take care of it.
Exactly. No, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. I have no problem with helping anybody, even if they don't believe in it. Hey, all of a sudden, I got this really weird stuff going on. I think I might need to talk to you. Okay. No problem. Give me a call. Let's talk. I got no problem helping anybody.
There you go.
It, like I said, people need to work together, and people need to be willing to look into things that may not seem possible. Science is proving things that aren't possible all the
All
time.
the time. Mhm.
And I'll bring up a prehistoric fish that is thought to have been extinct millions of years, was brought up off the coast of Africa in a fishing net. It's called a coelacanth.
Yeah.
Here it is, still surviving today. And that's the first one we've ever found in our present civilization. But yet here it is. Hasn't changed a bit. Just like the
No, I
shark.
know it's crazy. I know I've seen some videos and pictures of them. What's really funny was the natives actually uh had stated like, hey, we've known about these things that they were around, we've eaten them. It's like,
Yeah.
holy crap. Like the natives knew, and that's why I think the Native American legends, we really need to pay more attention
Yes.
to those.
Yes.
These people, they were, I mean, we're like we're pussies when it comes to nature. Really, you think about it, these people lived in nature and they knew what was around them. They knew a difference between a freaking bear that's standing up and a Sasquatch. They knew the difference. When you get
Yeah.
these skeptical guys, oh, Bigfoot, like they didn't pull this stuff out of their butt.
No.
Stuff that they were seeing in nature, they were like experts in nature because that's where they lived.
That is where they lived. That is where they always were, walking through nature, traveling through nature, staying in nature. They were in nature.
And so, like the stories of like the horned serpents. I mean, you hear these stories not just here in the United States, of like, you know, where Lake Champlain is, or Lake Okanagan in British Columbia. You hear of the water horses over in Scotland and Ireland, or the horse eels, they call them, with the horse-like head, the long serpentine body. Also in Italy, on the gondolas, you can look at some of the art on these things. And what's interesting, the Orlocks are water horses. Actually, they call them hippocampus, which is a scientific name for a seahorse.
Right.
So
I was just going to bring those up.
I mean, yeah, I mean, even Scandinavia, the Vikings, you look at the front of their ships. What do they have in the front of their ships? The serpent with the horse-like head.
Yes.
These people didn't even know each other. This is not coincidence.
Worldwide.
Not coincidence.
It's worldwide. You know, look at the natives. They're cave paintings. Ant people, aliens, things in the sky. They saw these things.
Oh, absolutely.
Dragons in China and Japan over there. This long thing flying through the sky that breathes fire. Rocket.
Yeah.
Spaceship. In India, they have stories of nuclear war that happened, and there's actually proof of it.
Yeah.
But yet nobody will believe it. If people would just open their eyes, we could learn so much about our past history, and maybe discover so much about our current.
Totally agree with that.
Really think we need to do that in order to evolve to the point where we can meld with nature more than we are. We have taken over so many acres of land for farming, and we put so many chemicals on that farmland, and we waste so much food and dump it because it sits there and rots because nobody's buying it. We need to restructure things. We need to figure out better ways of helping nature instead of harming it. Because I won't eat a fish out of the river that's by here, out of the creeks, out of the farm ponds. I have seen some very fish come out of those. You know, a three-eyed small cat, that ain't natural.
No, that doesn't sound good to me either.
That ain't natural. Now, Big Indian, yeah, there's no fields that drain into it. Good to go there. A couple of other big lakes. But I'm very picky about that kind of thing. I try not to put chemicals into nature. I got a job at a factory that makes plastic battery cases, and I cannot believe all the plastic that is thrown into the trash that goes into the landfills. And if every other plastic factory is like that, and they've had plastic since what, 40s?
The 40s, I think. Yeah.
40s.
Mm.
It and they can make plastic out of hemp and corn, and that's actually biodegradable. Now, you wouldn't want your battery case biodegradable because, yeah, you'd have battery acid.
You run into trouble with that one, but
But it just amazes me. And that is actually what got me into recycling plastic, because of everything that goes into the landfills. And I'm trying not to use plastic bottles and this and that, again, because in plastic food containers, again, because of the microplastics. If you think back to when we were kids, the ketchup was in glass, the mustard was in glass, oh, the food was in glass,
and everything tasted better, didn't it?
Yes. And now everything's in what?
Plastic. Yep.
With BPAs and everything else that your hormones and makes you not be able to have kids. And
there's enough cancer causing crap out there besides that as well. So you add them all together, we're just doomed as humans, really.
Yeah, we got to figure out a way to better. There's a word I've been looking for and I can't think of it. Sometimes my filing system doesn't work right, and so the word can't get from here to here.
Yeah,
but we need to get along with nature better.
Yeah, we do.
And
that's something that a lot of times with the world of cryptozoology, like say looking for Bigfoot, you don't really hear people talking about the conservation aspects. Like, what the hell? They don't talk about picking up the trash. They don't talk about, like, say if there's a conference, what I try to do is raise money for conservation of the lake or something like that. So with these Bigfoot conferences, I mean, you would think, say, okay, you buy an entry to the conference, we'll plant a tree. Come on, like, that's awesome. That's what I would do. And that's probably what I'm going to do, because I am planning on doing a cryptozoology conference. Probably not this year, but maybe next year. Down in Florida in the winter time, so people can get away and stuff and get out of the cold from up north. Yeah. There you go. You can come down. Ta-da. So
that'd be cool.
But I think it's really important with the conservation aspect, and it's something that we really need to focus on more to make the planet a better place. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't give a crap, and as you can tell, they drop their garbage everywhere.
Yeah. When I was a kid, you didn't see that.
No.
Because our parents taught us not to do that.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, you go out hunting or go fishing, whatever. There was wildlife everywhere. Pheasants, quail, rabbits, squirrels, you name, deer, everything. Coons. Now, not so much. You go out hunting, and you're lucky if you see a pheasant in a day. Sometimes you'll get a group of them, but you just don't see the wildlife out there because of all the chemicals and the GMOs, and their habitat has been taken. So, where are these cryptids going? Are they developing different ways of surviving? Are they developing camouflage abilities like the octopus? Scientists are wondering if the octopus is from another planet.
Yeah, I've heard that. I think jellyfish are. You look at jellyfish, how gnarly they are.
Yeah, they don't have a brain.
I know. It's like, well, if they don't have a brain, how the hell are they? I don't get it. It's just so bizarre to me. So that's one creature in itself that's really, really weird. There's a lot of weird stuff out in the deep oceans that they've discovered, like new species of fish that can live in these volcanic vents. It's like, how the hell is that even possible?
Yes. Yes. Entire mini ecosystems by these vents at the bottom of the ocean in that cold water at those pressures. It's crazy. If you brought one up, it would explode because of the pressure difference.
Ooh, gone. Nuts. Fish guts everywhere.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I watched Jacques Cousteau.
Oh, I've got like the whole. It's so funny because Eric, my husband, he's got a whole Jacques Cousteau DVD set, and I keep telling him, when the hell are we gonna watch good old Jacques? Because I just love watching his program growing up, and yeah, it's addictive. So I need to catch up on the old programs, but sorry to interrupt.
It's and Hallie brought up a subject earlier. I don't know if I can find the comment or not, but the megalodon, the giant prehistoric shark. They're talking about there have been sightings of this fish.
Yeah.
Way down deep, and if you go deep enough, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a layer.
Thermocline.
I think so,
Thermocline.
where the water under the top water is a lot heavier because of the salinity, maybe.
Mhm.
Okay. And normally what lives down there doesn't come up through, and what lives up here doesn't go down through.
They have their own little sections, pretty much.
Right. So what's in that? Because we really have not explored that yet.
Yeah.
What could be down there? We don't know.
I mean, I've seen some weird stuff on the sonar besides what I believe is champ. Just weird shit. Like, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff you see on there. Like, what the hell was that? Just the bathymetric, the bottom of Lake Champlain in some places. It's like looking at the Grand Canyon times 10. It's amazing. You're like, how the hell? It's just, and a lot of people, the most common question, of course, is how come dead ones aren't found? How come we haven't found a dead one? Well, if you're dealing with a very heavy ectothermic animal, I mean, for example, alligators, sometimes you will find one floating. It's very rare because the other alligators eat them. This could be the same thing. The other one could be eating the carcasses of them.
Right.
Nature has a way, as we said.
Microorganisms.
It's crazy. And so they could be burying themselves in the mud during the winter time when they go into a torpor like state, which is what the ectotherms do in these freshwater lakes. The snapping turtles, some of them bury themselves in the mud, some of them just slow down into a torpor like state where they're just moving very slowly. They're not eating. There's another replenishment of food in the wintertime that these animals aren't eating as well. There's just so many possibilities, and I don't know. It's quite the mystery, but I'm starting to really learn their habits quite a bit because I know where to go to get the evidence now. I have a couple of great hot spots, and it seems like, it might not be every day you're going to get anything, but it seems like sticking to those places, they're very habitual. So say you have deer that go to the same field to eat grass at a certain time. They may not be there every night, but if you keep going there, they're gonna come back.
Exactly.
So.
Same way in the paranormal field. If you want to get evidence, you go to somewhere where you've gotten evidence before. You take notes on what the atmospheric conditions were on, what was happening, where the resonance of the earth was. You take notes, you do it scientifically. Okay, I know I can get evidence in this spot when this is happening. So that's when you go and you do the same thing. And that's what you need to do. Just going to someplace haphazardly, you might catch something, you might not.
Yeah.
It's like going fishing. I might catch something today. I might not.
Look at the draw, you just never know. And I do have a book out, and it's called Water Horse of Lake Champlain. This is a sample copies, a proof copy. Water Horse of Lake Champlain, The Search, which is available on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble. And it's a great book. I worked so hard on that book. It's about 232 pages long, full of tons of information of the data that I've collected. This will be my 13th year coming up of doing field research in Lake Champlain. I've captured the echolocation, the sonar images, sonar video, and also surface video. So a lot of the still shots from some of that stuff are in the book. And if anybody wants to go on my website, it's www.katyelizabeth.org to check out my research there. And then, of course, my Facebook page is Champ Search.
Yes.
I also have another page. I got too many things going on. The International Dracontology, DRACON.
I share stuff like that.
Alliance. And I'm going to start getting some group things put together for the group, for members only type of thing.
Nice.
I'm going to start working on that. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire. I'm coming out with another book. This one's actually a children's book, and it's called Hello Baby Champ. So
Nice.
It's been a lot of fun. I've done the illustrations for it. I was looking for someone to do the art, and I didn't have much luck. I said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to do it myself. So I did it myself, and
there you go.
A little bit longer, but it's the way that I envisioned it. So what I wanted it to be. So it did work out really good.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I'm going to ask the audience, do you have any questions for Katy? And as we're waiting for questions to come
give me
through,
a good one for crying out loud. Like sometimes I get like the same crap. It's like, oh, I did like the poop one. Like, have you found feces? And we did find some really strange crap that was floating around, but
yeah,
and it almost looked like seagull crap. So I don't know. It was weird. And actually, alligator crap looks like that, alligator feces. So it could have been champ poop. Who knows?
Who knows?
If we knew and we had access to a lab, we could do some type of DNA
testing,
from a reptile or amphibian of some nature. But that it was weird. But who the hell knows? They let so much sewage into the lake at times that we really can't tell if it's just been crap sitting around. It's partially treated. It can probably look like that. But that's a really good question. I really like that question. That was a good one.
It would take so much money to DNA test everything, and then come back and it's contaminated with this or contaminated with that. You'd have to find something that's isolated.
Yes.
But
I'm going to be working on some DNA testing again. I did do some testing with a program, but I think it got degraded and they did it totally wrong. And I want to specifically test for a few species. It takes a certain type of filter to do it. Different type of filters for the water specimen. I'm going to be trying to reach out to some overseas companies that have done TV shows. I don't know. It seems like anything local to Lake Champlain, they don't want nothing. It's almost like they know that there's something there and they don't want to admit it.
Right.
That's why I try to deal with companies outside of the area.
Understand that.
There's a little bit of controversy going on with that stuff. I might sound like a conspiracy nut, but I really think that they're, for instance, I have this piece of bone. I don't know where the hell I put it. It's around here somewhere. But I have a piece of bone that I had found on the lake. And I had sent photos of it, 360 photos and videos to several universities. And nobody's telling me what the hell this bone could possibly be. It looks very similar to beluga whale, which would make sense because there were beluga whales in Lake Champlain, and there's about 13 skeletons, although there's only one on display, and nobody will tell me where the others are. I kind of think it might be beluga whale, but wouldn't it really suck if this whole time it was a champ animal bone?
Yeah.
It's been sitting on my shelf for like 6 years.
I totally understand that, because you mentioned UFOs, abductions earlier. I had one of those, and I have an implant.
Yeah, right, you were telling me about that. That's crazy.
And the doctors can tell me everything that is not, but they can't tell me what it is. It ain't wood. It ain't plastic. It ain't bone. It ain't steel. It ain't this. It ain't that. What is it? We don't know.
That's nuts.
Come on. Take me home already. You got the tracker. Come on. Send me the tracking link so I know where you are.
Yeah, but wherever you go, there's no bills and jerks. You're all set. That's all we could possibly want, right?
Yeah. I'm not seeing any questions from the audience, but I do have one for you.
Okay, awesome.
Before we jump off here, I do have an appointment in about 10 minutes. So Let me think of my words. How did Katy Elizabeth come to be? What got you interested in this? What pushed you to where you are now?
Oh, geez. I started like my fascination when I was 7 years old. I saw the Mansi photo that was taken in 1977. And I started studying Champ and Nessie and Ogopogo and other lake creatures around the world. But I seemed to stick with Champ for some reason. So it wasn't until 2012 when I got up to the lake. My mom didn't have any really interest in taking me. She never really took me anywhere. I hope she doesn't watch this show. She'll get pissed off at me. But anyway, then it was honestly like my second day, I had my first sighting. I did not get it on video, which is like, how the hell do I have a sighting after my second day at the lake? It was just like, I'm like, no one's ever going to believe me because I didn't get it on video. They're going to think I'm full of shit. So, 2014, though, I got the same, I don't know if it was the same creature, but it probably was around the same time, moving in the same direction in a vertical undulation. So at least I got it on video in 2014.
Nice.
As far as how I got where I am today, it's not
Gotta
giving
fight.
up, not giving up, not giving a shit like what people think. I've dealt with a lot of jerks. I've dealt with some very nice people. I met the most amazing people though with my research. You have the idiots over here, and you have the really awesome people that you become lifelong friends with. And I'm really grateful for the champ animals for that. That I met some really great people. The other ones don't matter. They don't matter because they have nothing to offer in the field. They have nothing to offer about protection. They could care less about the protection aspect of nature in general. It's that's what we need to focus on. And I never gave up. Discouraged a bazillion times, cried many times, pissed off many times. Um, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, but something tells me that I need to keep going
Keep going. Yes.
because it's so important to me. And I'm like tearing up now. It means everything to me what I do because I know they're in the lake and they're the last of their kind. They're not in every lake, obviously.
Right.
And I think it's really important to protect the species. That's why in 2018, I wrote a law for protection, which was passed by New York State Legislature.
That is phenomenal.
So it was really cool, really amazing. And I
I'm
was
proud of
really
you.
impressed. I was like so scared to go to the town hall in New York to present the law because I'm like, they're going to think I'm a total crackpot. I'm totally nuts. I'm on psychedelics. I've never done drugs in my life. Smoked pot, yeah, a couple times in my life, but I just never liked it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
A lot of the jokes, like everybody that's seen Champ's been drunk. I'm like, dude, I've been drunk on the lake quite a few times in the past, which I don't drink anymore because I'm like allergic to it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a damn thing when this happens. I've got the video and the sonar and the echolocation to back up what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's persistency, believing in yourself, taking that ridicule as motivation, the haters as the motivators. I think that's the biggest thing. And sitting in nature and just like taking in everything and saying what is important. What is
Yeah.
important after I'm gone, after I'm dead? What is important to this planet? And that's what's important is the protection aspect of not only the animals but the environment that they live in.
Yes, because mankind has caused the extinction of many different species by cutting down the rainforests and this and that and poisons and it's just heartbreaking when you think about it. And we
It
really
really
need
is,
to go about things differently.
definitely.
So, on that note, thank you so much for coming on this
It
evening.
was a pleasure. I had so much fun. And thank you guys so much in the chat, Michelle and Howie and Renee. I'm trying to like, look for everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. It was really great to share some of my research with Champ. And check out my Facebook pages and videos on YouTube under let's see the newest video. I think if you can post, we can probably post the link and then they can check it out on your page. I think they would really, really enjoy that because you can listen to the echolocation that we recorded on September 20th. And there's other videos on the channel as well. My channel's kind of new in aspects where I don't even know when the hell I made the channel. It's been a while, but I haven't been attentive to it as much as I should. But I'm expecting to get quite a few followers once I get my documentaries out. So it's basically growing at the moment.
I will definitely be checking out that book. I'm going to get on Amazon and get that. I've been meaning to.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet. Thank you for doing what you do. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Does. It does. It really does. So on that note, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us. And you all have a great evening. And we will see you next week, next Monday with Joni. And we'll look at the astrology and what's going on up there and how that's going to affect us here in the 3D world and spiritually. Go team. All right. Thanks. Night.
Thank you.